yes, to your own enslaved. For death of freedom, a valid choice. Those of us don't kneel, don't let you cowards dare dominate. This world is wrong to be.
What's up, guys? Our Wrestling Podcast back at you with another episode. This is Dave Vicious, along with Jess the Total Package and Craig the British Bulldog, bringing you our perspective on the world of professional wrestling. No inside sources, no ties to the industry, just stories from the diehards, sharing opinions with you. Today's topic, hidden gems of WrestleMania, Orton versus Taker. For audio fans, give us a listen on Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, and Google Podcast, or watch our videos on YouTube at Our Wrestling Channel. On social media, can you give us a follow on Instagram or Twitter at O.W.P 2019, or on Facebook at Our Wrestling Podcast. Guys, we talk about this match a lot. I think we're still mad at the ending. I know I am, but we can get right into it. Jess, you want to give us some of the background on this one? Sorry, I couldn't help it.
We're in WrestleMania, the March to WrestleMania, whatever you want to call it. I don't care. And this is Hidden Gems. We do Hidden Gems every now and then here on the show, but I'm doing a WrestleMania edition because we're on the road to WrestleMania. And this is a hidden gem from one of my personal favorite WrestleManias, WrestleMania 21. Nobody talks about it. This match kind of gets buried because this is the night that Cena won his first world title and Batista won his first world title, and Kurt Angle and Shawn Michaels decided to show people what a really, really great match was all about. And Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio opened the show, and they had the first ever Money in the Bank ladder match on this WrestleMania. So it's a great WrestleMania, wow. And this match got buried. This was technically the first match where they kind of started acknowledging the streak, as in like setting it up for people would sort of challenge it every year. Undertaker first acknowledged it in 2002 when he beat Ric Flair. He stood outside the ring and put up 10 fingers, and that's when he went 10-0. So I want to say, here he was trying to go 13-0, so he was 12-0 coming into the WrestleMania, but they decided to go a different way with Randy Orton. Randy Orton was currently part of Evolution. Well, not currently. I think they were breaking up at this point, literally. And Orton had already been kicked out before this. So Orton had a great run as Intercontinental Champion and kind of cut his teeth as part of Evolution. And then after that, he was unceremoniously kicked out of Evolution.
How many years has he been wrestling or top level at this point? Because he looks so young, but I had no concept of how long he'd been going.
Maybe barely 2, because he came aboard in 02 or 03. I don't remember.
So 2
and then
or 3
by
years.
04, by 04, he was Intercontinental Champion. He was part of Evolution, and he had a great feud with Foley, and he had a really good Intercontinental Championship run. And then that summer in 04, he defeated Chris Benoit for the World Heavyweight Championship and became the youngest World Heavyweight Champion, some guy. And so after that, they decided to have Evolution kick him out of Evolution, and they turned him face. And that was a really bad move because the crowd didn't really know what to do. He hadn't really established, he hadn't even really finished establishing his heel persona yet, let alone being face is hard. You know what I mean? You have to be just vanilla and fun. You have to find a way to modernize that whole, let's go. That's
right, guys, follow me.
Yeah, being a babyface is super. So come on, follow me. I'll show you a good time. So the crowd started half kind of booing him and not really giving him a big response. Of course, Triple H took the title off him pretty quick after that, and then Orton was kind of just floating around. It's so weird. I've never said that sentence ever before. That Triple H just beat someone and cut their momentum off. It's weird. So they were kind of struggling to figure out what to do. Then they bring Cowboy Bob Orton. For those who you don't know, he's Randy's dad. And he still wore the goddamn cast, which is just genius.
Hilarious.
His arm was broken for 10 plus years.
Because the gimmick was back in the 80s in wrestling, the early rock and wrestling and WrestleMania, early WrestleManias. He had a broken arm, wrist, and wore a cast for about 2-3 years. So that was the joke.
And he was always Piper's friend. He was always with Piper.
And always hitting people with the cast. And so for him to come back, get put in the Hall of Fame, and wear a fucking cast during this, it was fantastic. And I actually never connected that. Because all I see is Bob Orton with a cast, so I never realized the ridiculousnly that he was wearing a cast when we watched this back later. Until you said that.
So good.
Because it's part of the gimmick.
So leading up to this match, they start talking about the Undertaker streak, and then Orton had already been the legend killer up coming this point. So then they broke him off from Evolution, and then the failed face gimmick didn't work well. And then they turned him heel again and then tried to just rebrand him and figure out his voice. So he was kind of pushing the Legend Killer thing even harder. And then he said, I'm going to challenge the biggest legend of them all, The Undertaker. And I'm going to challenge his streak, and I'm going to challenge him at WrestleMania because that's like his house. So leading up to it, they had awesome vignettes. There was one where Cowboy Bob Orton came down and he's like, please, Undertaker, my son could be the greatest star in the history of this business, but he won't have that chance if you end him at WrestleMania. I'm begging you. And he gets down on his knee and he grabs the Undertaker's wrist, and you see Undertaker look at him like, no, like, I'm not doing that. And Orton comes in and RKO's him, and that kind of sets the feud up.
Undertaker, I've never in my life knelt down to any man, but by God, I'm going to do it right now, and I'm going to beg you, please, have mercy on my son. Please. Taker, I'm begging you, man. I'm begging you.
Hey! RKO! Oh my God, it's Randy Orton! That was Randy Orton and RKO to the Undertaker!
And it was awesome. Like, the vignette was awesome. So they lead all the way here to this match at WrestleMania. This is probably also, I know, like, some other streak matches, like the Shawn Michaels matches and they're awesome. The Shawn Michaels matches, at least one of them is probably still the greatest WrestleMania match of all time. But you also had the Hell in a Cell against Triple H. You had one of my personal favorite Undertaker matches was against Triple H at WrestleMania 17, was really good as well. But I would say this match might be my secret.
Giant Gonzalez.
This match, King Kong Bundy, WrestleMania 11. This match might be one of my personal favorite Undertaker streak matches ever, because nobody talks about it.
I was going to say, watching this back, I'm just so used to watching Taker slower paced in the last like 10 years.
He wrestled.
And so it was this perfect dead man era where he didn't move around like early Undertaker, where he couldn't move fast. He was agile and he was fast and he wrestled, and he didn't have to take his time with everything.
And
like,
he did it with
speed.
purpose, Craig, as well. And he used that speed when he needed to, not all the time. But
and the way he jumped off, the way he launched himself off and hit like the guardrails and stuff here, and how quick he was, like, this is peak Taker.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was great.
And to start it out too, this is also one of my favorite entrances of his. Like, I know later they would do the lightning, and it's a whole production.
Taz fucking it up.
But he made me laugh the hardest. Like, so
is he floating? He's floating.
This was at Staples Center. This wasn't a dome. So there was, almost 20,000 people in the arena for sure. But they put a bunch of fog or dry ice, like probably like maybe a foot or two off the ground in the aisleway. It's amazing how they kind of kept it quarantined, like right in that aisle. So the whole aisleway, you couldn't see the floor. It was just like fog. And Undertaker starts coming down, and he's not walking, he's floating. Obviously, he's on like a pulley system, like, but you can't see his feet. Like, so from like his mid shins down, you couldn't see because it was all under fog. So it was awesome. He was like levitating down to the ring. But Taz made me laugh because afterwards he's like, Cole.
He's like, hey,
we see he's coming down the ring, but it's not working. It's totally ridiculous. Like, and I started laughing.
12-0 at WrestleMania. Bone-chilling.
Oh, wait a minute. He's moving to the ring, but he's not walking. It's, I don't think, anyway. What the hell?
And he did kind of spoil it, but then I laughed. He's like, it's the most bizarre thing I've ever seen.
Yeah. Because you didn't start to go like, oh yeah, of course he's on a conveyor belt or like something until he said it. You just loved how awesome it was. He was floating down until Taz pointed it out. And he's like, how do you think he's doing that? Anybody out there? He's like floating because he's not walking, because that's weird.
Michael Cole is quiet for a reason. Michael Cole is probably kicking him under the table going, shut the fuck up, shut up. And Vince is probably there. Shut up. He's on a conveyor belt. Everybody knows that.
But you also know it's not Vince telling Taz to shut up. He's telling Cole to tell Taz to shut up.
This is black magic, Cole. This is some black magic.
You tell Taz that said that you just shut up. Like, he's just yelling.
It's almost some sort of conveyor belt, Cole. It's like, shut the fuck up.
Ruining it.
Oh no.
He's not walking. It's almost like they put the fog down so you can't see his feet. shut up! Like he's
Shout out to our special effects guy, Jacob. Great job, Jacob. Like, shut the fuck up.
It's still, alas, it's still
Oh,
one of my
it's
favorite.
so funny.
And this was Orton comes out to his old music, the "Hey, nothing you can say." It's not the Voices song. It was
Well
like a
done.
different. We called it the Golden Showers because he'd do this in the entranceway,
Yeah.
and just golden like fireworks would fall. So
I
we
like
all
that.
affectionately
I like
called
those,
it Golden
like,
Showers.
sparks.
Yeah,
Golden showers. That's hilarious.
this was a different. Yeah, it was a different Orton, and like Orton, for as young as he was here or whatever, it was the perfect matchup. Like they both wrestled really well. The psychology in the beginning was cool. There was a botch too where I think Undertaker ducked a clothesline or Orton ducked a clothesline, and then he was supposed to come off with one of his own, and they just ran into each other. And Undertaker, you tell
Yeah, he
Undertaker
goes,
went for a cover.
Fuck it, and then finished his clothesline.
Yeah. But there was a lot of spots I saw Randy calling too when Undertaker was doing the side headlocks at the beginning of the match. Orton was talking into his chest. You can kind of see it, not so obvious, but I'm looking for it, so I'll see it more. And they just did a lot of cool, like really back and forth spot wrestling where he was quicker than the Undertaker, and Undertaker was trying to catch him, but he couldn't. And then Orton finally would get like when Undertaker got a chance to show his power, then Orton would kind of succumb and roll outside the ring. There was a cool spot too where Orton drop kicked him on the apron, and Undertaker launched himself off onto the guardrail.
It was impressive.
So you saw things that Undertaker hadn't done in a long time, or even he never had a chance to really be that agile when he was the true dead man in like the mid 90s and stuff.
Yeah.
So it was really cool to see him actually wrestle here. And again, this was the first match where they started kind of putting a lot of stock in the streak, where every year they were going to start building it more and more. And this was really the first Mania match where I saw him. Like you saw the Undertaker make an effort to be like, I want to wrestle. I want to try to steal the show. I want to try to do. And I think he did a lot of good stuff. This match just had a lot of good back and forth, the false finishes. And, I don't want to steal all the thunder here or whatever too, but the counter into the RKO was one of the coolest shit I've ever seen. Like I remember watching it back in the day. So Undertaker grabs him by the throat and goes for the famous choke slam. He picks up Randy Orton, and as Orton comes down, Orton flips him into the RKO. It was great. And like the crowd popped really huge, and like he got a false finish out of it. Undertaker got a shoulder up at 2, and they just started doing really, really cool stuff. And then before that, fucking Cowboy Bob fucking comes in the ring and hits Undertaker with the cast. He has the cast and hits him. Yeah. And then Undertaker, I think, got him. Didn't he get him? He punched him or something like that?
He did a foot to the face, and then Orton takes a bump, like, right to the outside.
For a last ride, but Orton shifted his balance. Wait a minute! What the hell is this? Hey! The cast! That's Cowboy Bob Orton, Randy's father! With the legendary cast! Are you kidding me or what? Randy Orton's gonna steal this because of his Hall of Fame dad! What the hell is going on?
Fucking flies on the outside too. Like
so,
Orton Sr.,
interesting note on that. Cowboy Bob Orton got put in the Hall of Fame with Hogan and Piper and all them in Orndorff the night before. And when they came out, I think 2 matches later, they march out the inductees every year.
Oh, this was before they walked him out?
Yeah, this is before they walked him out. Cowboy Bob Orton came out holding his neck, like, because Undertaker, and he kept doing this. He's all like doing that or whatever. Like, so it's it's genius work all the way around by Cowboy and by Orton here, and by Undertaker for kind of launching him into the next stratosphere. Because really, like, yes, he had the rocket put on him here. Orton, he was Intercontinental Champion, he was a World Heavyweight Champion, but I really think Orton's career started here when you finally figure out your heel voice, and I think Orton was figuring that shit out. And he was broken away from Evolution and stuff, and that's fine. That Evolution was a big part of his career, but really, like, to me, he started here. And Undertaker was kind of tasked with the, hey man, like, we're gonna start putting stock in your streak, but you gotta teach this guy. And you could just see Orton move in this match. He was so good, even back here. Like, his natural ability was just. You don't see a lot of young guys that good. You just don't.
With that kind of ring presence, just knowing where you need to be.
Yeah. There was a point in the beginning of the match because Orton kind of slides away like a snake and gets the best of him. But the first time Undertaker gets him right in the face, Orton sells this punch to the face. Like, it breaks his mouth. And the way he like kind of crawls on the ground,
just flopping on the ground,
and he just sells that shot to the face. Like it was
really good. Even when Orton regains control from time to time, he still backs off because he's still rocked by Taker. He take a second, and kind of almost like the smelling salts. You're like, damn, he found himself.
Yeah, and you believed he had a shot at, like, actually this is early enough in the streak where you actually believe when Orton came in and did what he did, and then the choke slam into the RKO, you actually thought like there was a shot.
I thought
of
that was gonna
Orton
be it,
kind of
because
doing it.
They're not going to let you pin him when Senior hits him with the cast. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Orton's going for a ride. And what a counter! Oh man, an RKO! And that's going to be all C1 for the Undertaker. An amazing, unbelievable counter. Here's the cover. It's all over. The undefeated streak is over. And Undertaker kicked out. How the hell?
But then the reversal after all of it,
Yeah.
and Taker saves a little face. I thought that was going to be it. But that's what I wanted to ask you guys. Weren't we, when we were watching this in 05, weren't we all pissed off because we thought Orton was going to take it and break the streak? And
I mean, we never knew how long it was going to go. I remember being disappointed because I wanted Orton to beat him because we didn't really think how long. I mean, if he would have done it here, we would never would have had the Shawn matches. We never would have had the Hell in the Cell.
Fair.
I mean, we might have had them still,
Yeah.
but it wouldn't have meant as much. So it's kind of,
Yeah.
I'm glad the streak went on because there was years. I mean, there was 9 years of WrestleManias after this point that they led all the way up to, WrestleMania 30 when he finally lost. And so I'm glad. But yeah, no, I remember as a fan here, I was like, dude, that'd be fucking cool. I mean, what better way to crown Orton than have him beat Undertaker at WrestleMania?
And I could have sworn in shoot interviews that Taker said he would have liked to. Did he say he would have liked to, or he would have liked to give it to Roman? I know that, but he never said Randy, right? He never. He wasn't.
I don't think so. I don't think he ever intended on giving it to Randy.
And the way,
and by the way, if he was told to, he would have. I'm not saying that he was a jerk in the back. If Vince said do the job, he would have done the job. But.
And the way it ended with like the hubris of Orton putting him in a tombstone and mocking him, and then a quick reversal and Undertaker then tombstoning him for a quick pin. Like it was a perfect ending. It was like legend killer gonna finish you like the legend, like I've done so many times. And Undertaker's like, nah, boom, tombstone, and then it was just a bunch of false finishes. Bob came in and didn't. It was great. It was really good.
He's going for the tombstone. Oh no, that's the Undertaker's finishing move. What the hell? And Undertaker reversed it. Look at this front jump. Tombstone pile driver. Wow. Here's the cover. Goodbye. He got him. What a match. 13 and 0 for the Undertaker. Man.
The reversals, like the one where Taker puts you into the corner and he comes off the rope real quick, but then Orton gave him kind of a sling blade instead. I'm like, oh, that was dope, and it was really fast. And you're seeing that, like you said, you saw the reversal into the RKO. The only better RKO reversal is still Seth Rollins with the curb stomp. That's still the best one in my opinion of the reversals ever? But this one's probably the second best.
Look at that. He caught oh god, what's that high flyer's name?
What's happening to my head?
Craig is dissolving into... You're dissolving like the Undertaker's
You can't wear white on that backdrop. That's all I'll say.
I didn't even do anything. I didn't even move. It was so
I'm kicking myself right now for not remembering the aerial wrestler's name that came along later. Orton caught him he did a 360 backflip off the ropes, and then Orton caught him in the RKO. On that one too, but I think the Seth is probably my favorite for sure.
My favorite.
But I
like
forget
so
how much I forget how much I love the Undertaker chokeslam into the RKO.
It was good.
Every time I see it, I'm like, God, that was so. And it wasn't super clean, and it reminded me because you saw Undertaker kind of landed on his knees first, and Orton kind of landed awkward, and not in a bad way. It wasn't a botch. It reminds me of a comment that Funk said, and I think I probably heard this from Foley's podcast, where Funk's like, I kind of like it. And Foley learned from this because Funk told him early on, I don't like clean stuff all the time. He's like, so if someone backdrops me and I fall sideways on my hip, he's like, I kind of like it because I'm resisting. I shouldn't want them to backdrop me and me do a perfect swan dive, into a backdrop. Terry Funk's always like, I like to look like I'm struggling and they got me, they forced it on me.
Yeah.
And he's like, so I like that counter from the chokeslam because he got him up and then Orton turned over and the camera even zoomed in almost too much. It was almost a bad camera shot.
Yeah, it was too close,
because they didn't pan out to see Orton lay out, you know what I mean, and try to hit the RKO. But Undertaker landed on a knee first. It wasn't a flat, beautiful RKO like we see where the bumper and Orton are landing simultaneously, you know what I mean, face bumping and back bumping. Undertaker like kind of hit it like not sloppy. I want to say these words, but I don't mean it. Didn't look bad at all. It looked great, and like so it looked real. It looked like just
real.
Who's ever reversed that before? Like to me though, I remember as a fan thinking when Undertaker did the old school, I'm like, how easy would it be for him to pull him off from old school into an RKO? And they never did it. And I remember as a fan, I was like, God, like I would love to have seen that spot. That would have been a second one they could have done to pop the crowd even bigger. But the chokeslam will do. Like it was just pretty awesome. Like,
and by the way, the false finishes, the way they were set up, the crowd just kept pumping up and up and
they
up.
ate him up.
Got higher and higher. It was like the match was really good. I think I was gonna in my mind I was gonna crap on it in the beginning because I know this isn't a does it hold up, but I know what we thought about it in 05 because we were pissed off that Randy didn't win. But looking back on it now, I think it holds even more weight and merit than it did in 05, if that makes any sense. So a hidden gem is
and you got to think before this match, before this match on this card, you had Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero opening the card. You had the first ever Money in the Bank ladder match. Both matches fantastic. And then after like one or two matches, probably two matches after this, they did Kurt Angle and Shawn Michaels. And it's like, it just gets buried, unfortunately, pun intended, on this card because nobody thinks about it. You know, everyone's like, oh, that's when Eddie fought to open the show with Guerrero. That's when.
And like you said, Cena and Batista won
Cena
beats
JBL for his first ever WWE World Title, and Batista beats Triple H.
Thank goodness for that.
But I wanted to talk about this because if people, I know a lot of people have forgotten about this match. That's why I'm calling it, and it's WrestleMania season, so I want to keep WrestleMania theme. This is a hidden gem that people should go back and watch, and it's a not talked about streak match, which is really worthy. It's a great work early from Undertaker, where he just started his great match WrestleMania. Unfortunately, the next year he ended up fighting Mark Henry in a casket match, which wasn't that good. But the year after. The year after he took on Batista, and that match was awesome. And then really Undertaker didn't have a bad Mania match all up until he lost to WrestleMania 30. So this is kind of like the beginning of like, not only is there a streak, but like Undertaker went out of his way after this to be like, my match is going to steal the show if I can have anything to say about it. So this was a great match. It's something that everybody should go back and watch, especially since we're all priming up for WrestleMania. Why not?
Do it, stupid people.
Idiots. Not to get off the subject of just the match itself, but we talk about 17 and 19 being like the top two WrestleManias, and everyone disputes which one's 1 and 2, right?
And 9.
Just 20 and 9
and 11.
Ooh.
And 11
and 4.
And 4.
No, sorry, that's terrible. No, and 2. 2 is the best. No,
yeah,
sorry.
2 is
So would you put this in your top 3, top 5 WrestleManias? Because it was that.
I would say I got to think about it to do top 3, but top 5, no question.
No question. Wow, that's
for me. Yeah, 21's top 5
company, and like you said, and Taker Orton is forgotten about. That's just when you think about just the name power, because that's how good the WrestleMania was.
And people might even forget at this point that Orton had a streak match with the Undertaker. I don't think a lot of people will remember that.
Yeah, I never forget because I was mad that he lost.
Yeah, and I'm glad he didn't win, but at the same time, we were fans of Orton back here because we just saw the potential in Orton and the way he moved and just he was so good, you know. But obviously, he was a little pain in the ass in the back, you know, so he had to learn and get mature.
Yes, that's what I thought of when I thought of it, because Orton was young and he wasn't the legend in the suit, the superstar, and the top A+ guy he was, and Undertaker was the guy in the back. So I tried to get a sense of how they worked together and whether Undertaker kind of respected him or was showing him and teaching him a bit of a lesson. But I saw none of that, and it seemed completely seamless, and they had a fantastic match. So but I thought that same thing. I was like, Orton was young, and this was his dick years. How did Undertaker work with him, and like what I felt what was going on with those guys in here? But it was flawless.
I think the reason why Orton was given so many chances is because you could just watch him and watch how good he was. He was really fucking good. You were talking about him selling the right hand and just everything he did. It was so effortless. Like Orton didn't stress about anything. He didn't struggle with anything. It was just kind of like he was just really good at it. There was a couple botches in this match, but the clothesline one being one that I remember the most. But they covered up from it so well.
Was the last ride thing at the end before Bob Sr. came in a botch?
I thought it was, but then Bob Sr. came in, and I was like, maybe that was intentional. But it did look like that was a botch too, where he brought him up for the last ride,
and then Orton, they fell on him.
I think, Orton.
But he was too close to the ropes. I think that's the only thing that was wrong.
Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah, okay.
But good match again. Hidden gem WrestleMania. Go treat yourself. You fucks.
Idiots.
Marks.
Mark-ass Marks.
Whoa.
I like this, Craig. I like when Craig supports me. fucking off of the
For audio-
audience that doesn't want to watch.
For audio fans, give us a listen on Apple, Spotify,
Shut up,
SoundCloud,
Dave.
iHeartRadio, Stitcher,
Don't give a
and
shit.
Google Podcast. You should
Mark asked
or
more.
watch our videos on YouTube.
Hey,
and
do us
our
a favor
wrestling
and
channel.
shut the fuck up, Dave. How about that? Why don't we do
On
that?
social media, give us the follow on Instagram or Twitter at O.W.P 2019.
Sharing
or on Facebook
opinions
at Our
with you.
Wrestling Podcast. Sharing opinions with you. For the O.W.P, this is Dave, Justin, Craig signing off.
Head and jams, Romania.
Well, I'll put a pin in that.
I'll put up into that. How am I going
Head
to
and jam.
Yes, to your wrestling. Protect the freedom of father choice. Doesn't this don't need to like you cowards. Do you W.P? This world is wrong to be.